Hi, everybody. Brian Bedford here with Recruit Route, and thrilled to have Colin McAtee with us, CEO and founder of Productive Recruit. And today we're going to talk about technology and how student athletes and parents can leverage technology. And we'll talk about our partnership together between Recruit Route and Productive Recruit. And we'll even give a demo on some best practices leveraging the technology and kind of what it means. Colin, we've been working together for several years now, bud, and it's been a fun ride and starting to see our businesses start to really take off and flourish. But for those that maybe don't know a little bit about you, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of talk about where you started in your career and as kind of a student athlete and kind of playing career, and then we'll transition that over into this fun project that you've been working on the last couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Colin McAtee. I'm originally from San Diego, California. And then I went to play soccer at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, which was an absolutely amazing experience, both academically and athletically. After I graduated from Michigan, I ended up in Chicago. Originally, I actually went into more of like a business consulting type role. Then I learned computer programming and became a software engineer. And that kind of transitions nicely into the idea for Productive Recruit. I had this entrepreneurial drive to build something. I noticed the products in the space and thought maybe I could build something new that would really be better than NCSA and some of the other options out there. And that actually connected me with Brian, yeah, a little over 2 years ago now. I think on Twitter, I saw a random tweet Brian tweeted and I DM'd him, kind of cold outreach, and we had a conversation within a week, and we've been working together ever since.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride. Okay, so I've got to touch on your high school slash club career. So real quick, talk about what level did you play a club soccer, ECNL or something else? What was your kind of club experience like?
Yeah, I played for a club, it's still there, called San Diego Surf, which hosts any soccer family would probably have heard of Surf Cup.
Sure.
It's a big tournament. Lots of college scouts show up there, especially on the women's side back in the day. I'm not sure if it's still heavily women's sided as far as college recruiting goes. But they were in the time in the U.S. Soccer Development Academy, which actually folded about 2 years ago now.
Yep.
And now it's really, yeah, just ECNL and the MLS Next. So it's at the level MLS Next ECNL. Um, and yeah, so that was really good. As far as my recruitment goes, I was obviously I was targeting Division I schools, um, and also some D2. I was I wouldn't say I was necessarily like under recruited or over recruited or anything like that. I personally felt under recruited. Obviously as a high school kid with a little bit of an ego, thinking he's all great. But I went to some camps. So I went to Clemson, who actually they just won the national championship this last year. So they're always a good program. It was like 93 South Carolina in the summer. Um, and it was pretty tough on me coming from California with no humidity. So I didn't perform all there. Their coach, who's still their current coach, told me he thinks I'm only good enough for the lowest level D1 or D2. That kind of fired me up. I went to a Michigan camp within a few weeks after that and did really well and got an offer within a few days after that. So that's kind of the short tail end. I always like telling that story because it kind of shows that don't let one person's evaluation get you down. His evaluation was probably pretty honestly maybe true based on my performance at that camp, but I didn't let that get me down and came back firing at the Michigan camp, and then I
Yeah.
ended up there, and that's how it worked out.
Yeah, my quote all that I say, it always takes one pretty girl or one pretty boy to like you, and so you just got to find the right one. So okay.
Exactly.
We've been working together for almost 2 years now in a variety of different ways, consulting, partners, all sorts of different things. Kind of describe from your point of view the relationship that Productive Recruit has with Recruit Route, and kind of where have you seen things flourish over the last couple of years?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason I love partnering with Recruit Route is because they bring, and you specifically, obviously, Brian, bring that expertise and that process to your families that really actually helps them feel confident in their recruitment process and to know what to do. And from my from my standpoint, I think that really meshes well with Productive Recruit because we're just trying to focus on the technology and that side of the process to make things easier, to have all the data and information and process in one place. Whereas we're not necessarily the operators of doing the service of what that process is. The program, the platform's customizable to the partner. So, Bedford Agency Recruit Route is set up a great system within Productive Recruit. And I really love how that works. Rather than trying to be like an NCSA, we work with an action expert like Brian, who actually really produces results for the families. And that's my favorite part, is seeing all his commits every week, it feels like now, being posted on social. And it's really fun for me to see.
Yeah, it's been great. Well, thank you for that. All right, well, let's dig into this. One of the questions or things that I always am encouraged by is all the innovation and things that you're building. You're taking feedback. I've probably been annoying because I'm always giving feedback on
Not at
things to
all.
tweak and update. But I'd like for you, Colin, to take our student athletes and their parents kind of through what the experience should be, so that they see it from your lens. And we're going to use one of our student athletes as an example, but I'd like for you to just kind of walk us through what should they be doing, not only from setting up their profiles, updating their profiles, which is always kind of something that they can be working on, as well as just searching, contacting coaches, and then
Mhm.
obviously all the checklists that we've got in there. So if you could take us through kind of what that experience should look like as from a family and a student athlete's perspective.
Absolutely. So I'm going to share my screen here. Let me know, Brian, when you can see it.
See it.
All right, all good. Yeah, so like Brian said, we're logging in here as one of his clients, student athletes, Regan. She's a soccer recruit. And let's go over setting up that profile and how you should get started first. So when you first get a login from Brian, you'll walk through an onboarding flow, which will help you set up your profile. And now here on the dashboard, you'll also see your profile completion percentage and any like action items you can take to get it to 100%. So let's walk through that, and this will kind of step us through how you can edit your profile as well. So if I click here, we take into the profile edit page, and there's a bunch of tabs up here. You can see from profile, academics, contact information, that sort of thing. And all you need to do here is change things such as your grad year, example, if that was wrong, and you'll see that update in real time on the right. So essentially, anytime you need to update any information after that initial onboarding, you want to come in here and you want to make sure everything that you can fill out is filled out. For example, like she doesn't have her committed filled out. That's totally fine if she's not committed yet. Um, Intended major is a new field I added, which is why she hasn't filled it out yet. That's a brand new thing, and that's why we didn't show 100% there. So you want to make sure you come in here, fill all this information out. Sorry, fill all this information out. Definitely add your videos. She's done a great job adding her video links here. Brian will keep telling you how important that is, I'm sure, but um, you really just want to make sure this is filled out. So when a college coach visit your profile, they're not, a little frustrated. They don't have all the information they need.
Yeah, and Colin, on that one, if you can, when you so I think profile is it makes a lot of sense for sports. Some sports they don't have club teams, so you can
Mhm.
balance between your high school and your club team. She's done that here. Video, they can take YouTube, Huddle, Trace, Pixelot, any
Yes.
kind of video. Events, you're typically looking at like camps and ID
Mhm.
events, typically, right? Colin, is kind of
Yeah.
what you're thinking there, right?
Yeah, and maybe in the case of soccer, you'd have an upcoming showcase, and then if you
Yep.
send your profile link to a coach, you could also let them know in the email, but then also have that on there so they can take a
Events
look.
could also be your spring sports calendar, your fall sports calendar. If you have the games and home and away and so forth, you can add those to it. References, you can put full references in there, like literally get it in Word and copy and paste it from a references, or you could just put the coaches or a trainer or a club coach's name and phone number, etc. Same thing for accolades and contact, right?
Yep. Yeah, she's got her references filled out here, and then the accolades are the same. Any awards and academic or athletic that you've won, and then um, we were just talking about this, but I think it's important to get your social on there. Your Twitter, especially. I think a lot of sports actually Twitter is huge these days. So, and a lot of your recruits have done a great job. So anyone watching this, Brian can probably point you out to some profiles that look good on Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that.
And you can even have This will produce a live link that you can actually populate. I would encourage anybody to, pin it to your profile on Twitter, or pin it or add the link into your bio, actually
Mhm.
where your name is in Twitter as well. So just a couple of tips for you as well.
Yeah, so that's how you can get to it by clicking View Live Profile here, and then you could just copy this link um, and put that into Twitter. And you can also download these, which is pretty cool. Like you might not have a use case for it, but if you wanted to show up to a showcase, and bring your profile, you can easily print that out and get a QR code. So little resume for you there if you're interested.
All right, so walk them through the next thing. So they've built their profile, and now they want to start getting after it, contacting coaches, looking through information, doing research. What does that step look like, Colin?
Yeah, so there's a few ways you can, if you're on the dashboard here, you could click Discover Colleges down here, or you can always click Colleges on the sidebar over here. And then you'll initially be taken to the search page. So here's where on the left side in the filters, you can really narrow down the colleges you're looking for. A quick thing to point out is you'll see it's already filtering by soccer, and it's specifically going to be filtering by women's soccer programs based on Reagan being a women's soccer player. But if you're a boys soccer player in this case, it'd be filtered by men's. Um, and even that, we already have like a lot of the results window down. I could change this to Division Two. I could change this to like a region, um,
She's in Texas.
Texas. Okay, let's do that. Find Texas, for example. And then so we have D2 schools in Texas. I could click more info here. It'll pull up. So this is going to pull up their current coaches, their athletic information, general college information, all the major fields they offer, which you can also filter by. General metrics on the school. And then did you want to do some more searches or just go straight into the emails and that kind of thing, Brian?
Yeah, let's go in. Let's do one more search, and then we'll go into, we want to attack those coaches.
Okay, so we can make a little more advanced search, like we could change to business. We could say that, let's see, we could say our ACT score is, 27, and then this is going to bring back schools with a 27 average or less. Brian will consult you on this. Of course, you don't necessarily need, that school's average to get in, especially as a student athlete, but it's a good thing to gate, you know, to measure. You could even select things like public or private school. You could select suburb city. So let's say we want to be in a city that's going to get rid of some schools. You can even filter by religion. So however much you want to drill this down, you can, and you can search by your location. So you'll have to accept, but for me, I'm in Chicago, so it's going to pull back like 3 schools here. But for Reagan, it would pull back schools in her within 10 miles of where she is. And you can also beef this up to like 50 miles or something like that.
Love it.
All right, cool. Yeah, let's go through kind of the favorites, the recruiting processes now. So if we ever want to favorite a school, we can do that here by clicking favorite from the search view, or if I'm in the info view, I can click favorite. We'll just do this for her for now and we can delete it later. But so we'd favorite a college, we'd click manage process. And this is going to bring in the coaches and kind of this recruiting process overview page, which I call it. And it's anyone who's in sales or understands sales. It's really like the athletes and the parents' own CRM to communicate with that school. So they can click this email button here. It'll bring up an editor to email the coaches. They can add their subject. They can attach any files. Anything you send here is what you see, what you get. Anything you see in this text box will be sent. We automatically build that signature for you, which will have your profile link. You can edit this from the settings page. So if I go over here to this settings tab over here, anything updated in the email signature here will be applied when I send an email. So that's emailing. We'll actually show you too once you've sent an email if that email was opened. I might be able to find an example actually where she's sent some emails. Yeah, you can see here. So she sent an email here. The email was opened. That's kind of how it looks like on the back end. If we want to add a note, you can do that. And maybe you're keeping track of things like scholarship offers, stuff like that. If you're on a call with a coach, it could be a good thing to do is even have this open if you're on a Zoom call or a phone call and you want to take notes during the call. You might want to do that. Other things you can do, or Brian can even help do for you, is we could assign a task here, right? So let's say we want to follow up next week. It's something I might do, right? Make a task to follow up, assign it to myself, and then we'll see this open task here. And if we complete it, we just click check mark there. We completed the task. This is a pretty good overview, Brian. Anything else that I missed that I want to point out?
No, I think it's good. Colin, just in your experience with kind of emails, phone calls, direct messages, what are you seeing as far as best practices? How often should they be engaging with coaches from your point of view?
Um, yeah, from my point of view, which obviously I'm not a college coach, but if it were me, I'd be following up probably at least 2, 3 times a month, maybe more. And Brian, you might have some other thoughts we can talk through, but and I definitely be logging in here to make sure my profile is up to date and checking in on, these different colleges that you're in communication with. I think the recruiting process is really like your own personal job, any like a real job application process or a personal sales process. You really need to sell yourself. Um, if you're not like the number one recruit in the country in a sport like football, where you're getting a lot of, media attention, in a sport like soccer, especially, it's a little even harder to get that much attention. So you really need to put yourself out there and be contacting coaches as much as you can. And if they're not responding to you, whether it's because they can't yet or because they're just not, I would continue to follow up with new information to make sure they know that you're interested.
All right, awesome. Let's go to the next tab is the checklist, and we've put in custom built checklists in here. And so let's pop one of those open, and you can see, why don't you walk through kind of the logic behind how we've set this up, and then I can talk about the specifics in some examples here. But go ahead, Colin.
Yeah, so on the back end, Brian has been able to set up these checklists, which is really just a series of tasks. It's where he can add this content here and what that step title is. So this step one, he can set a due date. This one was doing a specific date. And then once you complete that step, you can click mark complete and it would, send you on to the next step. And you also receive an email nudge on the due date where it will kind of like remind you to take that next step.
And we've set these up, team, for you to always have at the ready things that you should be working on. So if you can't get a hold of someone on our staff, or you're confused, or a parent doesn't know, or maybe you've forgotten, you can always reference to a easy to find checklist that gives all of these things at your fingertips for you to be working on. And they're time bound, so they're really specific on the times of year certain things are happening from a recruiting standpoint. And as Colin's got listed there, what we want you to make sure that you do is, once you've completed it, even if it was months ago and you're going back into this to kind of review it, we want you to make sure you mark complete so that we know that you're taking advantage of those checklists that are listed there. Colin, a couple of questions for you. As you've got hundreds of clients across the country, how often are you encouraging them to get into the tool and leverage it? Once a week, twice a week? I mean, obviously you'd love for somebody to be in there every day, but what's realistic to you on the amount of time that they're kind of spending managing their recruiting process each month?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. In general, I think, at least once a week while they're actively getting recruited is probably at a minimum where I'd want to be. Um, if they're kind of like in the heat of the process where, things are hot, they're getting a lot of responses, there's a lot of camps coming up. Let's say it's the summer and there's like 3 camps you're going to, or, a few showcases or whatnot. You should probably be in here every day for sprints at a time, emailing coaches and following up and stuff like that. But in general, I'd be wanting to check in once a week to see whether I need to update something on the profile, if I want to check in if a coach opened my email or viewed my profile, stuff like that.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And while we get out of this tool, I want to ask maybe just one additional question for you, which is any kind of parting tips on the recruiting process from your lens, Colin, the platform, the engagement, social media? You got carte blanche. This is your time to kind of deliver tips from Colin, both as a CEO of a company, but also as a former recruit at the Division I level, what do you give? What's the tip of the day from Colin?
Um, yeah, so the recruiting process is definitely different now than when I went through it. But one of the biggest differences is where we come with technology and just social interaction online. So if it were me in today's world, even though I was a pretty shy kid, I'd be telling myself, please get on Twitter, please get on, Instagram, please even maybe even have my own like website or whatever it may be, and be building content, lots of video content, maybe even writing, just creating content so that my name gets out there, interact with coaches. I think that there's obviously so much you need to do to get better at your game, and that's the most important. But we're talking recruiting specifically, I'd say do whatever it takes to become known and to build quality content.
No, I think it aligns perfectly. I always tell parents take 10 minutes on Sunday afternoons, plan out what content you want to push out for the week and what day you want to push it out. A photo, a video, a workout, a post of something that you did academically, because building that social profile helps you not only get out there for college coaches and other coaches, teammates, but also, as you think about the world of name, image, and likeness, building
Hmm.
your own personal social brand will help you. One of my favorite things that I've seen recently is recruits complimenting or showcasing teammates. I love that, right?
Hmm.
They're actually kind of doing teammate of the week or teammate of the day. Man, that is a great way to show college coaches who you are, what kind of person you are, what kind of man or woman you are. So I'd take 10 minutes, talk to your mom and dad. Hey, what's something I can put out once or twice a week? And then obviously I would be inside of this tool probably at least once a week. That's what I would recommend to our student athletes. Again, you could do a full session, 30 minutes, 10 minutes, kind of prepping your social media, 15, 20 minutes inside a productive recruit. Do that on a Sunday or Saturday afternoon, and then you're really on top of it. And I can tell you, if you do that 30 minutes of those two items once a week, you are 98% ahead of just about any recruit in the country if you just do that 30-minute exercise and those two simple tips. Hey, Colin, thanks for being with us today, man, and appreciate all you're doing at Productive Recruit. And we'll see you next time. Okay, bud?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Really
Uh,
appreciate it as always.